Hi everyone, it's Xander and welcome to my channel. I am a poet and a songsmith, and my channel is all about my creative process, the inspiration behind a piece, how that piece sounds, what it's like by performing the piece, and then I talk about the nuts and bolts, the whys and wherefores of the piece. Um, get into the craft aspect, if there's a purpose, what the purpose is, that kind of thing. The song that I'm doing today is one of my longer pieces. It's a ballad and it's called Waterfall. I also do this sometimes as a poem, so it's one of these in-between pieces. But before I do anything in that, I would like to pay my respects to the Wanderung people on whose lands I'm broadcasting today, to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to any other elders that might be watching this. This is, was, and always will be Aboriginal land. Sovereignty was never ceded. This is stolen land. I'd also like to acknowledge their resilience and their courage and the strength of those who survived the colonization process and who are thriving now. So, Waterfall is a piece that appeared just about a week or so after the equinox, the spring equinox in the southern hemisphere last year. So it arrived in early October, to be exact. And it was one of those pieces that was inspired by practice that I did, or that I do pretty much every Sabbath. When I on a Sabbath, and I basically have a thing where I go to a particular place. It's quite close to where I live, but it's an edge place. It's kind of wild, but kind of tame, kind of in between place. And it's a place I associate with faith folk, and I generally will leave an offering there. And what I find is that when I'm traveling there and traveling back, quite often I will start singing. I will be singing in my head, it'll start coming out my mouth, and I will generally record it. Sometimes there's a song that's not quite manifesting, it hovers in the air around you. And I might have part of it, but I don't have enough of it to actually do anything with except to acknowledge that it exists. And sometimes I'm fortunate for that to come through at some later point where I can jot it down, catch it in some way, shape, or form. And sometimes I have to just let it go. On this occasion, it came through. It came through about 2 weeks later on the 8th of October, and I was able to catch it then. It's a long piece. I'm going to perform it pretty much now. The piece, as I said, is something that I sometimes do as a poem and I sometimes do as a song. It came through with music, it came through as a song, but it is quite long and quite wordy. It doesn't have any chorus. It has a repetitive tune. I find with a lot of the pieces that have been inspired by this particular practice of mine have this sing-song, nursery rhyme-esque quality to them, tune-wise. And then they just keep on going, which is why I sometimes refer to them as a ballad. This particular one, it just was a piece that I wasn't quite sure whether it was a ballad or whether it was a poem. And on my blog, stoneacorn.blog, you'll find it both done in as a poem, and there's also a recording of it as a song. So I'll do the song version today, and I'm just going to pull up the words because otherwise I'm never going to remember them. So it's called Waterfall, and it goes like this. I was wandering through the woods on a day when the sun and the moon shared the sky. As the clouds and the shadows told the sun, stay away, my head was stuck on the question of why. So I stopped by a clump of pine trees to think, and around me they came on the breeze in a blink. There were at least 4 or 5 so fair and so tall that I thought I was somehow in a dream. They were both here and there, held in both light and shade, and yet still somewhere quite in between. Then one took their hand and drew a long line of light in the air. What was day held a doorway made of night. I knew somehow that if I followed them through, I would breathe no more beneath this sun and moon. And I traced my life as it was from my birth, and I found I did not want to die this soon. Their laughter rang like music through the trees, and it was so sweet, it was surely done to please. One stepped through the doorway from night into day, and their gaze stabbed me right behind my eyes. Their face shone in a way that held me in fear, like they could see me through my everyday disguise. Then they reached through my chest and grabbed hold of my heart, and they read my true name, the one I've held right from the start. So I found myself crying out deep in pain, as if they poked a wound that never heals. And it seemed to me that they felt the same, yet their eyes told me they would never yield. So I found myself turn and start to run, as I needed my skin to feel the warmth of the sun. From that moment on, my life was contained, like I was held within a magic crystal ball. And no matter where I ran or what delight I craved, it seemed that I was surrounded by a wall. Its shadow cast me deep into the dark, and it bled me out like a blade right through my heart. Well, at night I was haunted by their shining face, though distorted and twisted and unreal. Their slender fingers reached like daggers of bone through my flesh, around my heart I could feel. Till I awoke one day and realized that no more could I turn my back. I could never close that door. Once again I wandered deep into the woods, waiting for the day the sky held sun and moon. And I began working at a hole in that wall, so that I could squeeze through it sometime soon. And then maybe I could travel deep into the night, through a door in the air with its edges made of light. And deep into the river of life I would plunge, to be held by its ever-loving arms, till it takes me away high into the hills, where the rainbow of light and water charms. This time when they come, I will be ready for the sight, 'cause their call to my heart makes it shatter with delight. With their hand in mine, I will at last find my rest, 'cause their fate and mine are both entwined. And when I look with wonder once again into that face, I will notice that it is the same as mine. I'm not talking about the one that's flesh and bone, but that silver song that we both will know as home. 'Cause our souls are cords of shining silver light that weave around each other like two snakes. No matter how many lives we travel through, our hearts will reach across to ease that ache. Though towards the rocks we are hurled every time, like a waterfall, we dance through the divine. Though towards the rocks we are hurled every time, like a waterfall, we dance through the divine. So that's the entire piece. You can see it's long, it's complex, it's really easy to stuff up the tune, which you will have noticed. I did do at one point because the verses are uneven, but that's the way the song is, that's the way it came. So sometimes you have to squish a lot of words into the same tune, and sometimes you have to fill that tune out and fill in the spaces with a lot less words. And because you're doing that all the time, if you're not good at rhythm, and I'm not good at rhythm, it can be easy to stuff up where you need to actually go up or down, or how long you need to hold the note for. If we're talking about the way that you sing the piece. But you can see what I mean. It's a repeated tune, and it's kind of got that nursery rhyme-esque feel to it. And that's part of the song. It's meant to be that way, in the way that if you follow it through, it's kind of done with a singer who can actually do it justice. It has that feel of that kind of a meditation or trance state through this repeated tune, because it's taking you from a space that you could call here and now, or here and now, the real middle world place, and taking you into a place that's no longer in the middle world. And so that is, but I might add, no less real. That is, so the quality of the tune itself leads you through, just like some kind of repeated mantra. When you're doing meditation, will take you to an altered state. That again is part of what the song is intended to do. And the song words are a combination of things. It's a combination of the my practice on a Sabbath, where I take my offering, my offering of honeycomb honey. That'll teach me to wave my arms around too much. So it will take me to this particular place where, in the wilderness at the edge, I offer my honey, and the song sort of comes, and I've encapsulated that within the song. The song came to be, or started at the very beginning of the song, before I captured it. I came from the Equinox, and that's in the song as well. So it has those aspects of it. It has meeting the fae folk there. So all of that kind of stuff is actually part of the song. But the other aspect of the song is basically that quality of when you're facing your spiritual self. And in the Western cultures, especially Australia and the culture that I was born into, spirituality, unless it's part of your family life, you don't really have in your everyday. So there's this whole thing about this separation of I don't like using the word mundane, but this whole separation, you're separated out from spirituality, artificially so, because it's part of that patriarchal, part of that um, capitalist system, which disenfranchises you from life and commoditizes you and monetizes you. And that process can shift you out of a thing where out of a spiritual state of being, unless you have ways of ensuring that it is included. And when somebody from that kind of background confronts something spiritual for the first time, it can be really scary, and you can run. You don't understand it, you don't know what's happening, there's all of these things suddenly, and you start questioning, am I really experiencing this? What's going on? And you run because you just don't want to face what the possibility might be. And then as you run, and as that particular journey of running brings you back full circle, and you come and you confront spirituality again, you realize what you're actually confronting are shattered pieces of a mirror. And when you pull that mirror together, you're actually looking at yourself. And the mirror has been shattered, so all of these aspects of spirituality that have been scattered around you reflect you, but they reflect you in a distorted way. And so when you have your mirror back and you're looking at yourself, that is when you can embrace that aspect of spirituality as being you. This is spiritual, and it is me, and I am spiritual. So that's essentially the journey that the song takes you to, takes you through. The nursery rhyme-esque quality, like I said, it's like that kind of a trance or a mantra that sort of takes you to that particular spiritual journey, because quite often spirituality goes hand in hand with things like that are mantra-esque, or that are like a repeated prayer, and that sort of will get you through this particular rhythm, because mantras or prayers or these sorts of intonations are tools that help with spiritual journeys. Basically, they're part of the structures that various kinds of spirituality will use in order to help people reach an altered state. Music is really good for that. Music has music in some ways is energy, and the way that music, when you're singing and the music is vibrating around you, it's a really good way of interacting energetically with what's around you. Music has colors when you sing it. There are various colors that music has, and music has numbers, and there are various numbers that might come up in the tune, and they also help to describe the energy of the piece, and help to interact with the energies around. And so therefore you have that particular piece in the song where you have the first four are in one particular kind. It's a repetition of twos. So you have two lines sung a particular way, two lines sung a particular way, making the four, and then you have the last two lines sung a particular way, but they're sung differently, and then you have it repeated. So you have these numbers of 4 and 2 and 6 that are repeated throughout the particular piece. So I might stop there, as far as, because we're already fairly long way into the recording, and I don't want it to be too long. But when I'm talking about or creating a spiritual piece like that, the color of the songs, color of the music, the numbers associated with it become important. They become important because it's part of the spiritual whole. I don't normally take notice of something like that in a shorter piece. And I don't normally take notice of things like that in a piece that's just a song. But in something like that, which is a spiritual journey, it is important when you're singing it to be aware of how you're interacting energetically with what's around you. And it's important to be aware of where you are going when you are singing it. So yeah, that was Waterfall. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.